Welcome back, MTN Nets podcast. Reacting to the Dennis Schroder trade, which I know I'm late on, so I apologize for that. Other trade rumors, it doesn't seem like they're done, which is nice, and the tank's in full effect. I know coming into the year, the thought process was this would be a bad team, they're going to lose a lot of games. Well, they already have like 10 wins, and I don't think anybody expected that. So Sean Marks had to kind of expedite the process of tanking. I know the return for Schroder was not this great return. Some people wanted a first round pick. They were probably never getting it. So to get two second round picks, a mid return at best. But as I kept saying, the most important thing for this team right now is to lose games, as sad as that is. So the more important return for the Nets was to get Schroder off the roster and lose as many games as they can for the 2024-25 season. And it hurts to say it's going to be a shitty year to watch this team the rest of the season, but this is just how it is. It's this year, probably next year, and then hopefully by 2026, this team can compete. So it's going to be, 2 long seasons, but it's just that's part of the process. It was interesting because we knew the Warriors were going to be involved with the Nets with some type of trade, whether it was Cam Johnson, which seemed more likely, or Dennis Schroder, and apparently the Nets were going to go give them Cam Johnson. But the Nets wanted Jonathan Kuminga in return, and the Warriors were not willing to go there, which I understand. Of course, with Kuminga, talented player, didn't get the extension, inconsistent playing time. So the Warriors are in a situation where maybe trading Kuminga is the best for them because he's able to be a restricted free agent in the summer. So if they're not going to re-sign him, then maybe trading him right now makes sense. But right now, Golden State would not do that. So the Nets hold on to Cam Johnson for now. They are still shopping him, but they do give up Dennis Schroder, a second-round pick, and they get 3 second-round picks in return, so a net of 2 second-round picks. And Sean Marks was pretty brutally honest about everything. Even Jordi Fernandez had a kind of weird quote about it. But Sean Marks on the trade said it's never easy to see one of your own leave, but at the same time, looking at the big picture here, this is what's best for our organization long term. Sean Marks gets it. It's nice to hear that. Obviously, I think as fans, we know what this team had to do. I was pretty surprised. I mean, December 15th is the first day when you can trade guys who just signed from the past offseason. So, they moved on this right away. I'm surprised because Sean Marks normally waits till the final minute to do something. That was like the Schroder trade last year with Dinwiddie. That was last minute. Trading James Harden was last minute. It feels like a lot of things Sean Marks has done in recent years, and really his whole Nets tenure as GM since 2016. It feels like a lot of last minute deals. So I was surprised that on the first day they were able to make a trade. It's like, oh wow, they went out and did it. This was the Jordi Fernandez quote about them playing at a faster pace with Dennis Schroder. So the quote from Jordi Fernandez was, Dennis was bottom 10 slowest point guards in the NBA. Pace doesn't mean you're better or worse, and Ben is 18th fastest. 18th is crazy. We're going to try to play faster. The ball is going to fly. He's going to push. He's going to throw it ahead. So clearly, they're trying to cover their ass in some type of way. There's no way they believe that Ben Simmons is a better fit. We knew Dennis Schroder was a good fit for this team. If the Nets, for some reason, let's say the Rockets trade didn't happen last year or over the summer, and the Nets did not have their own first-round picks, Dennis Schroder would still be here. He was a great fit for this team. But the problem, of course, is they want to lose games. So if you had Dennis Schroder, who was the perfect fit for this team, it was not going to work out. And Dennis Schroder, honestly, he's only been here for not even a full year. He got traded for last February. But he was a great net. He put up good numbers. He had 16 points per game. He was very effective in the pick and roll offense and stood up for his teammates. We saw the video very early in the season of him standing up to that one fan against Orlando that was talking trash to Ben Simmons. We saw Dennis Schroder's last moment as a net was basically standing up to Ja Morant and Taylor Jenkins, the Grizzlies head coach. So Dennis Schroder was a guy who was a great locker room guy, a leader on and off the floor. And without Dennis Schroder, as we saw versus the Cavaliers on Monday, this team is pretty lost. So I know Dennis Schroder is this journeyman guy, but for this Nets team specifically, he was such a massive piece. So losing him is going to be very important to lose games the rest of the year. And I do think for Golden State, it's a nice fit. You get to take Curry off ball and save some energy. So I do like that for them. And he could also run the second unit if they need to. Other trade rumors I want to get to. So The Athletic had some quotes. Cam Johnson The only question here is regarding whether the Nets actually decide to move him. Expect at least a first-round pick and a good prospect. That's a good return. If not, 2 first-rounders outright. Otherwise, they can just keep him. I would prefer they trade Cam Johnson. I'm not a big fan of his injury history. I just don't really think he's a guy who, when this team hopefully is competing in 2 to 3 years, is going to be like a very important piece. Like, he could be a 4th or a 5th best player on a championship team, but I think what the Nets are going for right now is just a young core they can build with and trying to get high draft capital. So if I'm them, I'm still looking to trade Cam Johnson before February. Like, I would say better sooner than later because he does help them win games, which is obviously not the goal right now. But they're going to shop him. And I do think the Nets somewhat sold low on Dennis Schroder. I don't see them selling low on Cam Johnson. I do think there's truth to that last part. If they can't move him, they will just outright keep him. I don't know if that's the right move, though. I would prefer to trade him. We'll see if he could even stay healthy until February. Like, that's a big part of this as well. Like, his injury history is scary. For Dorian Finney-Smith, he feels like one of the more likely players to be dealt, was the quote from The Athletic. I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith, I'm still shocked he's here. He felt like a guy who, when the Nets first got him in February of 22, it felt like he'd be traded. And here he is almost 2 years later, still on this team. So I don't know how he's lasted through this many transaction cycles, but he has. I saw this quote from, I hope I pronounce it right, Jovan Buha, or Bua maybe, I don't know. But he's works for The Athletic, covers the Lakers. And he had a quote saying that he expects Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson to be available and much sooner than the February 6th deadline. So it does seem like the Nets want to get moving on this. Like, this is good to hear, and they already look terrible versus Cleveland. I know the Cavs are a great team, so maybe part of that is like the Cavs are great, and maybe the team is not used to playing without Dennis Schroder. Like, there could be reasons for it. I'm sure they're not this bad, but they did look really bad on Monday. They got out to like a 7-0 lead, and ever since then, it was like Cleveland went on like a 17-0 run, it felt like, and the game was over. And for the Nets injuries, Trendon Watford, unfortunately, re-injured his hamstrings, so I don't know how long he's out for, but we'll see. Of course, a re-aggravation is not what you want to see, but I feel bad because this is like a great opportunity for Watford to really make a name for himself in the league, and he has not been healthy, so I feel bad for him, but, I just hope he comes back soon and he's healthy the rest of the way. Zaire Williams is still out with a knee sprain. He hasn't played in like 2 weeks. Cam Thomas is close to being re-evaluated, but they have no incentive to rush him back. I feel like if it was like the playoffs or like the finals and like they really needed Cam Thomas, they can probably get him back, but like I feel like they're going to really take their time on that one, which I definitely understand. For some reason, I still see fans that are against tanking. I don't know why. Like, this is just how it is and we have to accept it, but it's also the right thing to do. I've seen this graph, I guess we can call it, put out there a few times, and I think it was Cash on Twitter. I'll put his profile in the video here, but he had this chart of basically, it was 3 different charts. One is the odds of drafting an all-star, one is the odds of drafting an all-NBA player, and the odds of drafting an MVP. So it goes based on what number pick these guys are. So if you are picking first overall, the chances or percent chance you're getting an all-star player is 69%. So you're well over 50% of getting an all-star player with the number 1 overall pick. Second overall pick, it's at 41%. For some reason, it goes up to 59% for the third overall pick. And you go up and down and look at this list, and it just shows you that it's like, it's so common, it's obvious. I don't know why people still don't get it. But the higher you pick, the better chance you have of getting like a difference maker, a franchise-changing player. And I've had this argument plenty of times on my Giants channel about tanking, right? I mean, people still say that they bring up the whole Chase Young versus Andrew Thomas thing back in 2020. What happened was the Giants won a game late in the season when they were pretty much out of the playoffs, and it really would have helped them to lose more. But anyway, the Giants dropped down to the 4th pick. The team they beat, who was the Commanders, they went to the 2nd overall pick. They got Chase Young. He, of course, tore his ACL, did not have the career he was supposed to have. Andrew Thomas turned into an all-pro left tackle. So people use that as an example of like, see, it doesn't matter. Like, the right thing happened, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, the higher you pick, the better chance you have of getting a great player. For odds of drafting an all-NBA player, the first overall pick, it's over 50%, 53% of the time it's an all-NBA level player. 28% of the time for the second overall pick. Third overall pick, once again, jumps up 44%. Number 4, 22%. Number 5, 28%. And it drops down way after that. And then you go to MVP. I mean, first overall is so big for drafting a potential future MVP. So 22% of first overall picks turn out to be MVPs. And there's a note at the bottom saying no player drafted since 2014 has won the MVP outside of Nikola Jokic, who was drafted outside of the top 15, so out of the lottery. So it just goes to show you, like, if you want an MVP level player, if you want a Giannis, if you want a KD, if you want a insert great player, Luka, then you're going to probably have to draft these guys in the lottery. And the Nets will get in the lottery. There's no doubt about that. I do not see how they make the playoffs now. But this graph it shows you, it just gives you data on why it is good to lose games if you're the Brooklyn Nets right now. I know there's people out there that want to see them compete and win 30 to 35 games. I do not see the point of that. This is how you win. I know these next 2 seasons are going to suck. I get it. But if we endure it now, then the Nets in the 2030s can be like in a position where OKC is right now, or maybe even like Boston. I know it's very tough to get to Boston's level because they had like this crazy event where they get the Nets picks and they turn out to be 2 all-NBA level players, but they're 100% doing the right thing here. I know there's going to be a couple fans out there that don't like that they traded Schroder. I get it, but just big picture wise, at least Sean Marks gets it, and they're doing the right thing here. I do want to hold off on uploading this because I wanted to react to the Toronto game on Thursday, so I'll definitely react to that after. But I do want to go over the schedule. I mean, they've lost 6 of their last 7 now, and it's funny because I thought about this today. I'm like, didn't their season go upside down after they beat Phoenix last season? Like, remember last year, the Nets started out like 13-10, and Nick Claxton made that corner 3. The Nets had that surprising win against Phoenix in Phoenix, and then after that, the season went off the rails. Like, they lost I think 10 of their next 12 games. Now they've lost 6 of their last 7 after beating Phoenix. So it's like 2 seasons in a row. They go into Phoenix, they beat the Suns, and then their season collapses after it. It's just very odd. Like, I'll go back and look last year. I definitely feel like this happened. Yeah, they were 13-10. They beat Phoenix. They went on to lose it's like 10 of their next 12 games. The only teams they beat it was the Pistons back-to-back games when they were on that long losing streak. So it's like back-to-back years. The Nets go out to Phoenix, they win a game they shouldn't have, and then the season just collapses. It's like they sell their soul to beat Kevin Durant one game, and then they lose a bunch of games. Getting to June and getting to the draft is the most important thing for this team right now, but there is a season left to play. There are things to watch out for. I don't know why they aren't playing a guy like Dariq Whitehead more. Like, we did see Dariq Whitehead play well against, I think it was the Bulls in that one game. He had around 20 points. He shot the ball well from 3. Why not play him more? I don't understand why he's in the G League and why he's not playing more. And you have injuries. You have Trendon Watford out. You have Cam Thomas out. Zaire Williams. There's definitely minutes out there for these guys to be had. I'm looking at this team now. It's just, Dorian Finney-Smith should not be taking up 24 minutes. Get him out of here. He's not a part of the future. I don't get it. Even Ben Simmons playing 31 minutes. He's not part of the future. I don't see it. So anyway, I love what they did. Good trade. I hope they're not done. I hope they get more trades done soon. We'll see where Cam Johnson possibly goes. And of course, Dorian Finney-Smith. I do feel like Dorian Finney-Smith is definitely getting traded. If he's not, I'd be pretty surprised at this point. He does have that player option after this year, but he's basically in a contract year. If the Nets don't trade him, that is just beyond stupid. So even if you only get a Royce O'Neal type return where it's 3 second-round picks, just take it. I mean, you get something for the guy. Don't let him walk for nothing at 31, 32 years old. And then you have Cam Johnson, where, as I said before, I just do not see the point in hanging on. I know he's been a good trooper so far. He wants to be here long term. I get it, but this is a business. And if you can get, as people are saying, a first-round pick and a good young prospect or 2 first-round picks, I mean, you do that in a heartbeat. So I don't know why they would hold on to him. I do ultimately think he will be traded this year, I hope, but to me, it just feels like a no-brainer. So anyway, that's it for the first part, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night when I'm reacting to this Raptors game. Part 2, reacting to the game. If you see the video version of this, you see the Nets record went up in the win column. They win tonight, 101-94 over Toronto. They were only 2.5 point underdogs. It's not the biggest win. Even RJ Barrett was out, Quickly was out, so it wasn't like a full-strength Raptors team, but still a good win. They outscored Toronto 31-18 in the fourth quarter. Toronto was up about 10 or 11 points mid-third. You're thinking, all right, this one's over. They're playing like Reese Beekman, Tyrese Martin in the third quarter, and you're thinking like, all right, this one's over. By the way, Beekman, his Nets debut, did not look great. He was a -3. Had a turnover his very first possession. He just checked in, turned it over, almost had a possession on the next turnover. I think it was Jalen Wilson maybe, had a one-handed pass to save it from going out of bounds. So not the best performance from Beekman. He did have a nice play in the post on defense on Kelly Olynyk. I know Olynyk doesn't have the deepest bag, but still playing good post defense on a guy much bigger than you. I'll take it. The big story is Cam Johnson. He had his best quarter of the entire season. It was in the fourth quarter of this one. He had 15 points in the fourth quarter. Finished 9 of 15 with 33 points, 11 of 12 at the free throw line, 10 rebounds and 6 assists, 2 blocks. Cam Johnson was also clutch in this game. That was a big problem last year and even the half season we had him the year prior. He was not clutch at all as a Brooklyn Net. Seemed like he missed every clutch shot he took. Tonight, though, he made a big running layup to make it a tied game. Then he had that three-pointer from the wing to put them up 3 on the fast break. That was a big shot in this game. So obviously, if you're a pro-tanking person like myself, it does suck to win, especially because the Jazz won and the Wizards won. You could have obviously lost to the Raptors, who are now 7-20. So they could have made up a lot of ground here in terms of tanking. But the good news is Cam Johnson's trade value goes up even more. And he's been having a great year. I mean, I don't know what the actual offers they're getting are, but we heard the reports of they're going to get possibly a first-round pick and a good young player as well, or 2 first-round picks. And I say if you're getting one of those type of offers, I would just take it right now. Cam Johnson's going to win this team games, and that's not the goal, sadly, right now. So we'll see how they go about it. Seems like teams are interested, but a performance like this only brings up the trade asking price if you're the Nets for Cameron Johnson. Dorian Finney-Smith, another guy who probably will and should be traded, he played well. A +19 in the plus-minus category, had 8 points, 2 of 4 from 3, had a big block on a 3-point attempt. I think it was Grady Dick. It was probably a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter. They didn't need a 3. They went for it, and DFS blocked him. The ball went off the side of the backboard. Nets got possession, so that was a big play defensively. So the 2 guys that are most likely to be traded, they played very well in this game. So that's the good news. Nick Claxton only lasted 11 minutes, had another crash out, which he tends to do way too often. I don't know why he can't keep his cool, but unfortunately, Nick Claxton got himself ejected. It was a fast break, basically. He got fouled around the free throw line by, was it Olynyk maybe? I forget now. But it was a weird situation. He basically had the ball and just threw it into the stands in front of him. He got ejected pretty quickly. He was about to throw a seat cushion as well, but luckily Nets assistant coach Juwan Howard actually stopped him from doing anything dumber than that. So the seat cushion was about to be thrown. Howard took it from him. Shout out to Coach Howard for that. But Nick Claxton, I mean, I've talked about this plenty of times the past couple of years. He has to control his emotions. He does not do that too well. I just don't get why. You got the foul call. I don't know why you're throwing the ball into the stands like that. It's just not necessary. Maybe he had a dinner date or something and he had to leave early. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but you got to control your emotions better. Ben Simmons actually played pretty well. Back-to-back 10-plus point games or double-digit games for Ben Simmons. First time that happened in about a year I saw. So Ben Simmons is actually scoring. He was aggressive at certain points and, putting his forearm into guys, doing his Euro step and that one-handed floater he does, and it worked a couple times tonight. He actually went 2 for 3 at the line. He had an and 1. He made that free throw. Then he had 2 other foul shots. I believe he missed the first one, made the second one. So even the foul shots were pretty good for Ben Simmons standards. 5 rebounds, 7 assists, did have 5 turnovers. I mean, he does have some really bad turnovers, at least twice a game, So that's kind of the bad part about Ben Simmons. His usage rate is pretty high because the ball's always in his hands, which does, of course, mean you're more likely to turn the ball over, but some of his turnovers are just so bad sometimes. Keon Johnson was unplayable. Guy had 4 fouls in 8 minutes, contributed nothing offensively, and he's getting a real opportunity. He's been starting recently with Cam Thomas out and Dennis Schroder traded, And this is a real chance for Keon Johnson to make a name for himself in this league. And he has what's the opposite of taking it and running with it? He's doing the opposite. He's taking it and like laying down with it. I don't know what the opposite of that is, but point is he has not been playing well recently. Jalen Wilson, rough shooting night, 1 of 11, 0 of 7 from 3. He had a couple of threes that like bounced around. They could have went in, so just an off shooting night. He was aggressive though. He was driving the ball, getting into the lane, so he did some nice things like that. Had 2 steals. Just not the best game from Jalen Wilson. Noah Clowney had his good moments, 2 of 8 from 3. A perfect 3 for 3 at the line, 9 rebounds. He was a +2, had 11 points, did have 5 fouls. So Clowney like had his good moments, had his bad moments. Day'Ron Sharpe had definitely more bad moments than good moments in this game. Had 3 turnovers, 5 fouls in 10 minutes. That's always a Day'Ron Sharpe issue, was getting dumb fouls. He did have that nice block. I remember he had like a turnover, and then he had like a nice block that next possession off the backboard. So that was a good recovery, but I feel like this was not a Day'Ron Sharpe game that I was too enthusiastic about. And this is another guy that could be traded to a team that may want a backup center in a contract year. So Day'Ron Sharpe got to be better than that. Shake Milton played pretty well at some points. He was 5 of 10, had 12 points, was a +10. Obviously had a lot of ball handling duties at times, had to create for himself a few times, and yeah, it went okay. He had a really nice cut on a late fourth quarter basket. Ben Simmons had the ball probably like around the foul line, and he found a cutting Shake Milton for a nice layup. So that Philly connection with Ben and Milton, it's working out. They've had a couple nice plays. There was that alley-oop about 4 or 5 games ago they had. Tyrese Martin did not do too much, 3 of 7 in this game, did have 4 rebounds, but really nothing too memorable. And I mentioned Reese Beekman, his Nets debut, went pretty terribly. Only played 4 minutes, but yeah, it was not great aside from that one defensive possession in the post on Kelly Olynyk. So yeah, that's pretty much my summary of this game. Felt like in the third quarter the Raptors were going to take it. They came out actually in the third quarter of Toronto, and they won the third quarter 30-18. And then the Nets in the fourth quarter won the fourth quarter 31-18. So like it was basically the third and fourth quarter went exactly the same, except for the Raptors were the great team in the third quarter and the Nets were the great team in the fourth quarter. So this was a weird game. I even forgot Toronto doesn't have Jakob Poeltl either. So like they're missing some pretty good players. They did get Scotty Barnes back, so he had some nice plays at some moments. Of course, Scotty had his bad moments and moments where you're wondering what the hell he's doing, but that's kind of the experience with him. So now they're up to 11-16. As I said, a lot of tanking teams won tonight, so I was hoping that the Nets would lose this game. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way, but you know, there's probably not going to be that many wins the rest of the year, so I guess enjoy it now. But 11-16. Coming up, they're home versus Utah on Saturday, so there's a chance they win back-to-back games. Then it gets a bit tougher at Miami, at Milwaukee, who of course is playing much better. They won that in-season tournament thing, versus San Antonio at home. Then they're at Orlando, at Toronto, at Milwaukee, home versus Philly, home versus Indiana, home versus Detroit, at Denver. You have a little road trip on the West coming up. So like the schedule gets really tough in like mid-January or maybe like early January. Like, it starts with Denver, and, like, their road trip is, like, 7 games, and it ends at OKC. And even when they come back home, they have tough games versus the Knicks, the Suns. We'll see what Miami looks like at that point. There might be some trades made, I don't know. But point is, like, the losses will come, but tonight and maybe even Saturday versus Utah, the Nets have a chance to win back-to-back here. So that's pretty much my reaction for this game. Good win overall, good fourth quarter. I'll talk to you guys after either some random game or if a trade is made, which I feel like either is definitely possible at this point. As always, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys next time.